Social media. When I say those words, what do you think of? For some, it may have positive connotations, but for many people, social media comes tethered with many negative emotions. They see it as a place full of drama and cyberbullying and just kind of a fakeness to it. And if we're honest, they're not completely wrong. We as a society definitely need to have a conversation about some of the toxic aspects that come with having social media in our culture. But that does beg the question, is all of social media bad? Should we all just give it up? Well, I would venture to say no. Social media has potential, if we use it correctly, to have a lot of positive effects and influence society for the better. So today I'm going to talk to you about the benefits of social media and why we shouldn't just write it off as completely bad. And we can't use any of it. I use social media, and I know many of you do. So I know that for most of us, we all know the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with having social media. And it can lead to a lot of preconceived notions. So just for a few minutes, I ask that you leave those preconceived notions at the door and forget about them. And we're going to talk about how we can really use social media to influence the world for the good. So today we're going to talk about how social media can help create community and also how it can help promote social good. So first we're going to talk about how social media helps build community. There's a common misconception about social media that it's just kind of this awful breeding ground for cyberbullying, and there's just people constantly being mean to each other. But honestly, that's not totally true. There's a lot of instances on how social media has actually really improved community life. And I'm going to share a couple stories with you today. The first one is from a lady named Katie Wadless, and she is a journalist for CNN. And she wrote a story about social media, and it included a lady named Rebecca Levy. And Rebecca basically made her own YouTube-like platform. It was called Kids Vids, and it basically was a platform for people who liked theater, who were interested in musical theater. They could post covers of their favorite Broadway songs, or just make videos talking about how much musical theater means to them. And this experiment turned out to be really worthwhile, and I think Rebecca Levy says it best in the following quote. She said, "They can just find kids who are excited about the same thing. So if you are living in a small town and you're the only kid who likes musical theater, instead of feeling like a freak about it, you can go online and find all these other kids that love musical theater too." So while that's a really positive thing to happen, but we're going to talk about something a lot more serious. The article actually later goes on to talk about an 18-year-old boy who was planning to commit suicide. He posted on his Facebook that he wanted to end his life by jumping off the George Washington Bridge in New Jersey. And a friend thankfully noticed it and reported to the port authorities, and the port authorities actually got in touch with him through social media and were able to connect him to the mental health professionals that he needed to see. So there's a tendency, again, a big misconception about social media, that it's just a great divider, but through these examples, we actually see how it's bringing people together. The truth of it is we live in a world that's often very unkind to people who are different, or people who, don't fit inside society's boxes necessarily. They like things that maybe the rest of the world isn't interested in. So when your life is spent around people, there's a tendency to feel like you don't belong, that you're alone, and everyone is thinking one way and you're thinking another. But the beautiful thing about social media is it connects you to people from all over the world, and you can find people that share the same interests as you, so you don't feel alone and you don't have to feel isolated. And more than that, it provides a support system for people. And this support system, can be your friends and help you when times are hard. All human beings long for community, someone that will understand them and walk with them. And social media is a really powerful tool to connect people who really need that may not get that in their day-to-day lives. So now that we talked about the benefits of social media and the community aspect of it, let's talk about how social media can actually support like social good. So there is a tendency to think that social media is very me focused, right? Very selfish. But social media is actually a great way to introduce people to all different backgrounds and bring attention to issues that people may not have thought about before. I'm going to borrow a quote from Andrew Solopak, who's a journalist in the journalism department at the University of Florida, and he said, social media provides an account for the biggest issues facing the world today from those directly impacted. As a result, increasing awareness of an issue is where social media can have the greatest impact. So the article he writes later goes on to talk about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which advocated and brought awareness to Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a really degenerative and painful muscle disease that a lot of people suffer about. And a lot of people got to see these videos and it brought attention to it, but not only that, it was a call to action. People watched these videos and it moved them to donate to the ALS Foundation, which received quite a few donations actually. So my point is that, yeah, social media can have a lot of me culture, but it exposes you to people of all religious, racial, socioeconomic backgrounds, and all the individuals' situations they face, so you can see them as a person and not just a statistic. You see a real life suffering person, and it creates empathy that can't be made anywhere else. So and it links to charities that can help and solve the problem. So and that's a platform that wouldn't be possible without social media. So just to conclude and to recap, we talked about how social media can greatly benefit and help find community, and also it can help promote social good. So the important thing I hope you gathered today is that social media has a lot of good that can be done with it. But the key is how we use it. We have to be intentional about how we use it. It is completely possible to use it as a force for good and improvement in this world, or to divide people and tear people down. And honestly, it's just that. It's just a tool. So the choice is up to you. And I hope that this speech opened your mind to different options that you can use to be more intentional about your social media and use it to make the world a better place. Thank you.